All right, well, welcome into the zone, my man, Jared Dudley.
Yes.
Great to see you, brother. Looking sharp, too. Making me look bad on my own podcast, but I guess we'll go there.
This is my Fox Sports debut, so I'm excited. First day of the day.
Now, you are, I know you still have 2 years left on your deal.
Yes.
You plan to play those out, I imagine.
Obviously, yeah, got to play those.
Yeah.
And then, when you're a kid, when I wanted to play in the NBA, I wanted to play 10 years. This is my 10th year now. So then now you try to set the bar. I'm trying to get to 14, 15.
Okay.
And then, I've got the full pension, so I'm good right now. So just keep it going as long as you can.
You want to transition. I've seen you all over, heard you all over. Do you want to transition into broadcasting?
I think it's my three
Eventually?
things, either broadcasting, either front office,
Okay.
or coaching. And that's where family decision, personal preference, and that's why you try to fill out, where you want to live, what you want to do. And, coaching's basically back on that same lifestyle, and do you want to continue that? But that's a passion of mine also.
All right, man, that's good. Well, look, we're going to get you right, get your opinions on some things going on in the NBA right now. Obviously, Cleveland Golden State look like they're on a collision course to the finals. You agree with that everybody feels is a foregone conclusion? For
sure. I think those two teams are by far the most talented, best players. I think it's going to be real quick. I picked the Warriors early.
Okay.
Even now, it's just so hard. But I will say Cleveland and Wade Braun has been playing lately a whole nother level, because P.J. Tucker's my guy, and to me, he's one of the best wing defenders you had. And I thought he did a good job. He still had 37, 10, and
he got man.
Right, exactly.
No disrespect
No.
to the boy,
Hey, it's not when it's the way LeBron's playing, and they're the one team that can give Golden State where they like to switch all the ball screens, and they have two guys who can go get it and make plays for others. I'm still going to give a slight edge to Golden State, but I think they're going to be there real quick.
A lot of fans feel like KD going to Golden State and these two teams kind of being the clear cream of the crop in their conferences has kind of ruined the regular season, and maybe some feel like the playoffs. As a player, what was your feeling, when you saw how great those two teams are?
Well, initially I didn't like the decision. Obviously everyone has their own opinion on that with KD going, just because KD usually, when you're a top 5 player, usually guys come to you. Usually. And usually, and if it wasn't in OKC, a lot of free agents want to go play with KD. I thought the way he likes to play, he's unselfish, as you see him now. And they were up 3-1. And to join that team, obviously, hey, he's his own man. He can do that, and he set himself up pretty well. I think it's not – the NBA's never been like the football where you're going to have, 10 teams for a championship. Yeah. I think it's better when you have 4 to 5 teams legitimately have a chance instead of 2.
When you're facing, as a player that's got to compete against those teams, though, and your team doesn't have a chance,
right.
How tough is that?
It's discouraging at times. I think it depends on the situation. When I've been in Milwaukee and obviously now in Phoenix, we are young teams. So trying to show them the foundation of how they did it. Overall, the hard work, the film sessions, because eventually what you're trying to do when you're a young team, kind of what Boston is you're trying to catch them when they're on their downside in a couple years, where instead of LeBron being 31, he's 34. He's coming down slowly, and then you have a guy like Devin Booker who's now entering his prime at 23, 24. But what you try to do, it's like anything. You try to go out there and compete. But with those guys, I don't think we beat any of those teams at all this year.
Yeah. Well, look, you played Golden State with Durant, without Durant. There's a debate. Are they better with or without him? What's your take?
I think for an 82-game season, I think that the 72 team win was better. Yeah. 73. I just thought just because their depth overall with Barbosa, Spades, they came in so many different levels. I thought Livingston and Iguodala had a bigger role. But if you're going to try to tell me that team could beat that team, I think Durant in the playoffs when you need him, and that's when I think where the difference of them in the finals, where instead of Harrison Barnes in that spot, now they have Kevin Durant, where he's going to there's going to be some games where he might get the edge on LeBron, which that would never, ever happen on any other time in the old series. So that team with Durant, I would say it's more postseason ready because of him, another option. But for an 82-game season, I'm going to go with the 73
That's
team
an
win.
intelligent take.
Yeah.
I agree. Like during the regular season, they're certainly more exciting, and they look like they might be better without him. But in the playoffs, when they're going to need him, if they bottle up Steph, bottle up Clay, Now you got Durant to deal with.
For sure, I thought the biggest thing is Durant just brought Clay down to not Clay, brought Curry down to hey, instead of being a superstar, a star. Yeah. I think when he's not there, he's the most exciting player in the NBA. He's the most unique, where he can give you 40, and how his shooting is like, and they look for him so much more. Yeah. When KD's there, I'm not saying he takes a back seat, but obviously you can definitely tell it's a huge preference of trying to give KD the ball to get him going, and because of that, sometimes Curry and Clay can get lost at times throughout the game. Even though they get their numbers, it's not the same, and you see their aggressiveness is not what it usually is.
You got to be honest with me on this, all right? If you were in Steph's shoes, would you want Durant there or have wanted him there?
I wouldn't.
You're right. What you just described is absolutely true.
I wouldn't have, just because the only reason why I wouldn't have at that time is because they were the best team. They should have actually won the series before. You were the face. Yeah. I mean, people don't understand. LeBron will always be the face, but overall, if you ask little kids last year when he was going on that run, the favorite player, it was Steph Curry. His shoes before, they lost the finals, was the highest selling shoe, I bet, or if not top two. And because it was your show, and in a way, we were looking at Steph Curry. What's his legacy going to be like? I mean, there was so many old heads of, back in the day, trying to knock him, trying that. It was so much hype because we've never seen anything like him. And because of that, KD coming, I feel like it lost some of its luster. And I don't know if he can get it back, because I feel like KD's going to be there for at least 2-3 years to try to get him a ring or two.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what did players, no names, but players you talked to, obviously, about the KD situation, how did guys feel?
I thought for a general were disappointed, just in the sense of he didn't need to do it. Overall, it was I would say when he first announced it, everyone was shocked. I was shocked. I thought I was hearing possibly him, if he wanted to start his own with the Lakers. I feel like any team he would have picked besides them, Boston, would have been okay, it's his team. But to join that team, we just never seen it. Yeah. The closest thing was Bron when he teamed up. But they were teaming up to try to beat the Celtics because they couldn't beat them. At least it was hey, even though, I think Braun kind of started the super team, and it's going to keep going now. So, you ask, you get what you ask for him. So, but I would say a general didn't like that. And then now they look at it, hey, he made his decision. Let's move on.
Did it lower his stature, I guess, in guys' eyes a little bit?
That's a great question. I think we're all in the moment. I think at that time, I think it did. But I think if they go out and win 3 chips in a row, you forget about it. And people said the same thing about Bron.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing. I mean, we don't even think about it anymore because he won this title with Cleveland. This was a huge thing for Bron last year, where you don't even think about the Miami and him doing that.
Now, look, you played with the Clippers. I know it was brief.
Right.
But why? They are the most underachieving team I can think of. I'm not saying they should win it.
Right.
But they should be a factor. And they went out in the first round this year. I know Blake was injured, but still. Why do you think, you've played with some of those guys, they can't at least live up to their potential?
It was the worst chemistry that I've ever been on in any team I played on in the NBA. And the reason why I say that is the environment when I got there. Even Doc came in with great, everyone knows Doc, and especially his interview, he's a huge car salesman in the sense of he can make you believe. He's the best pregame speaker of any coach I've ever had. He make you want to run through a wall beforehand. But he inherited a team that, for one, was just a weird personality meshing together. We never hung out. Never. I can count on one hand the dinners we went to together. That being said, is on every other team I've been on, I mean, out of 41 road games, we at least gonna go to 10 to 15 dinners. Wow. I mean, minimum. I mean, if you look at Braun and the Warriors this year, they rent out restaurants after games and hang out. So you have that. There were so many cliques in it. Blake was with DJ, which is fine. We have cliques now with Phoenix, but overall it was to the point where they wouldn't even think about inviting anyone. So that gives you the personal, and then you get on the court where you get into practice. It's so much tension, guys going at each other in a negative mean. I mean, overall, it seemed that way. I call it this, and I tell DJ to his face all the time, we were bipolar. They were the coolest guys off the floor trying to talk to you in the locker room, and then we got on the court. It was like, this guy cussing this dude out, this guy mad at this guy, where it was weird for me coming with Nash. It was so much positive. High five, handshake. Hey, let's get it next one. So when you have that tension, just think about when the pressure gets tight, and then now you got to come even more together. You already fragmented before you even get going. So overall, they would never, with that core, will never get to. I'm even bold enough to say even get to a Western Conference Finals.
Wow. Just
because you have to beat teams like San Antonio, Golden State, even Houston, where their star players, can make the other play. And also, I would say this about Doc was every good team that I've been on had a system. Basically, he's a great X and O's, but it's basically get the ball CP 100% of the time, and you do 100 pick and rolls. Well, eventually the good teams adjust throughout of a series, and that's when Chris Paul seems kind of, mortal, even though he'll have 3 or 4 big games. Eventually they catch on, which any good team does.
That's a great point, because I thought watching that Utah series, it looked like Utah was executing them to death.
Way better.
On both sides.
They have a system. Overall, they could lose George Hill for a game or Gobert, and you could put someone in a la the Warriors, San Antonio, where it's a system, flares, flow, balls getting. And the Clippers, you could be on the wing, a wing player, and you might not touch the ball for 7-8 minutes. Wow. You know what I mean? Because the offense doesn't involve swinging the ball from side to side and getting that motion.
Now, how much of you talked about the chemistry? There's a lot of rumbles about Chris Paul. Like, he's just tough to play with. He's so hard on his teammates. What's that dynamic?
You know what? I wouldn't say that when I was with Chris. I mean, overall, the biggest competitor I've ever played with, including Nash, including John Wall, he hated to lose more than he liked to win, if that makes sense for you guys. Defensively, always wanted to guard the best point guards, always wanted to get after guys. Wasn't huge in practicing overall. I mean, with Doc, you don't even practice. Literally, I mean, in a month, you could practice once or twice. And people think I'm joking.
Off.
You're off.
You don't you show up
starters, you can come if you want to. Bench, come in, get some shots, run through some plays. Wow. And the reason why it's difficult, I try to tell people, is you can't get a flow. So usually 90% of his teams, the bench is going to be worse because you're not even used to playing. Stars are going to play 35 minutes. You might play 10, 15, but you're not even getting practice run to get the chemistry with guys. They say, hey, here's Jamal Crawford. Here you go. Do your thing. Yeah. And for him, he gets his own shots by creating himself, so it's easy for him. But with Chris, no, I mean, he wasn't that bad, but I would just go by your vocabulary and how you talk to your teammates. Okay. Now, that being said, there's certain guys you have to cuss out to get going. Certain guys you got to hype up. But you got to know each player from different. Everyone is functioning different ways, and that's what they do a poor job over. Not just Chris, I would say the Clippers in general.
So if you were running the Clippers, there's a lot of talk about what they should do this offseason. I'm talking about front office, coaching staff, players. You know who's a free agent: Chris, Blake, JJ Redick. What would you do?
First off, you have to see, do you think Doc's the guy? I would say this. I would take the GM job because obviously if you went through it, I don't know if he had really one good GM, acquisition of what he's done. So I would say first fire him as a GM, keep him 1 more year as a coach. Okay. People keep saying blow it up. Like, I mean, they're over the cap. They can't even get anyone. So who you going to bring in? I mean, who's it? Bob Mucha going to be your starting power forward? People don't understand. Mm-hmm. So you got to sign Chris back. You got to sign Blake back. You offer him the 5-year max. Bomber will pay it. They'll be over the cap again. Then once you bring them back, you trade Blake Griffin. And the reason why you trade him like CP, because you can get a star player if you wanted. Mm-hmm. You can get 3 good role players and draft picks. So you got to convince him to stay to trade him. And if there's anyone that could do it, is Doc Rivers. This guy.
Well, you don't have to tell him, right?
You don't have to. And this is where his agent, like, I mean, if I'm him, I'm mellow. I need a no trade clause because you get to pick. If not, you can trade him Indiana for Paul George. That's what I try to do. You could do Boston and get maybe Bradley and Crowder, or if you want Jaylen Brown and then a pick, you can do that. I mean, you have so many options where you can get it to him, and it's gonna be interesting. But that's what I would do because they need to get role players to help with that. But with that being said, if doctors have a system, you can bring anyone in there and it's still going to be stagnant or, hey, ISO basketball.
Yeah. So give me a quick example of a Doc great pregame speech. I've heard Pat Rott's things about Pat Riley. What's some stories about Doc's pregame?
One story, he was a player. It was after his rookie season. He was walking on the beach, either Venice Beach, Manhattan Beach, one of those beaches in L.A., and it was Kareem. Kareem was on the sand doing a workout, and he walked by him, and he went up to him. And before he went up to him, Kareem thought he was asking for an autograph. And this is the story. This is what he tells us really right before the game. And he's like, "Hey, no autographs. No autographs. I'm good." And he looked at him. He's like, "What? Like, I just played you. I just played to get you." It was like the last game of the season, or the game before or last. And he basically looked at him. And he was like, "You know what? The next year, this guy's gonna know my name." So next year, he goes in that season. He has a good season. He plays them, and apparently he had a big game versus the Lakers. He said, "I bet you remember my name." He said, "Tonight, make sure they know your name. And we went out. Hey, no wrong. To me, that was a good story. We were hyped up. Like, all right, hey. Hey, his speeches, he was big time. Doc Rivers, when it came to that, we were ready to run through a wall.
That's good. That's good. Now, you mentioned Chris Paul wanting to guard the best player all the time, best point guard. There's been a lot of talk about players hating on Steph and why guys don't like him. First of all, do you feel like there is this sentiment out there where a lot of guys don't like Steph? And is it because he doesn't guard the best point guard, or why do you think it is?
You know what? I think it's different. I don't think guys don't dislike him. Actually, I think guys like him and respect him, but they just feel like he gets a pass because he has Clay there, and Clay always guards the best. It's smart coaching. Obviously it's the best, but overall, you see a guy giving you 40 and hitting 10 threes, but he's over there guarding someone in the corner who's just chilling, or he'll guard a power forward if he can't score. So I just think it's a little resentment for that. But hey, if you saw it, CP was the first time I seen them do it a little bit. Bob Mute would guard the point guard sometimes, and overall, Damian Lillard, that happens. And this, if you can't guard a pick and roll, I understand it. I just think with Steph, it's every guy. So that's why. But I don't think anyone dislikes him whatsoever. But, hey, when you're the Warriors right now, I don't think anyone likes the Warriors right now, the way they're just destroying everyone.
Who's the GOAT?
Oh, of all time?
Yeah.
Oh, for one, it's Jordan. I keep hearing this Bron thing. And I will say this, though. If Bron does beat this team this year, I think the hype of him just beating that team with Durant and how he does it, all the guys have to be there, no injuries. And if he beats them in another 7-game series, and it's at Golden State, which, that's by far, to me, the hardest place to play at with their fans and the way they play. I would say overall, guys, I think the new generation is going to be like, you know what, I think it's him. That being said, it's what Jordan did is so, flawless. He never lost. He's such an icon to us. He's still relevant. He owns a team. He didn't have any blemish. People, in his prime, he quit. He could have won another one. People don't even understand, we put that into place. So I understand that here and there. And also, I think you get bonus points. He stayed with them the whole time. I know he had the Washington stint at the end, but overall, getting guys to come in, Rodman, I think it diminishes a tiny bit Bron going to Miami slightly. So I'm not going to put him over the head. I hear Colin say, hey, he's over it. No, I'm not going that far.
Now, you've guarded LeBron,
right,
Kobe, Durant. Who's the toughest to guard?
Kobe in his prime, by far.
Really?
Well, I say it just because his mentality, the triangle, it always puts you in the middle. Like, he was always in attack mode. Bron, in a sense of, he can give you 30, and you don't even feel like he's destroying you because he'll get 10 in transition, where it has nothing to do with you. He's going to get, he's going to get a couple fouls, and then he shoots, he might make 3 threes because you're going to let him shoot 5. So overall, he might get hot that one night. So I don't put that, for me, it was always Kobe 1, Durant 2, then LeBron.
Now, you played with Shaq in Phoenix. You mentioned Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. Shaq, I know it had to be some funny stories.
The funniest teammate. Overall, when you're that powerful and that funny and have all that much money, it's hilarious. You guys probably heard some of the stories of him. He loved being naked. I don't know why. I don't even know why. He would come in, take off his clothes, and then chase these trainers around and tackle them. That was, I don't know what was it. Tackle them naked. Tackle them naked.
You can do as a trainer.
They would try to run away, and he, Shaq for being that big, he's kind of fast, especially in a short little area. He would always do that, man. And then another one, like he thought he was a producer, rapper. And he used to have these huge pianos and beatbox. And he made Robin Lopez, his rookie, carrying him. So Robin Lopez is coming on the plane. I'm like, Robin, yo, it's a Shaq. And while we were gambling, Shaq would be playing his instruments. And he'd be like, yo, Duds, come here. I'm like, all right, man, what you got going on? He's like, listen to this beat. And he would try to make music. And his music he made were all gun sounds. It's like, I'm like, man, we going to war? I'm like, man, what we got going on? Yeah, but hey, Shaq, funniest, best teammate, unselfish, would help rookies out, take them shopping. Great teammate.
Did you and Grant Hill was there with you guys?
Yeah,
too?
Grant's my guy.
Yeah, have you ever talked to him about what could have been? Because he was, we talk about LeBron and Durant and Kobe. Grant was in that class before he got hurt.
We never really got into detail exactly about that, but I know, his injuries. If you ask him, even now, we talked a little bit. If he had to do it over again, I don't know if he would sign with FILA. FILA, I think it was around $70 million. I think I want to ask him. It's hard to turn that down, but FILA wasn't ready at that time to be a top shoe company. As you see, they're not here anymore. I mean, we saw this. Actually, the shoes actually looked all right. You know, the Fearless shoes.
Fearless
You're
was
right,
stylish for a while.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But he just said it really messed his ankles
Really?
up.
So
that was the biggest thing for him and stuff like that. And if you look at him, man, if you look at his foot, I mean, he's had like 4 ankle surgeries. You could tell it's like an extra skin on it. And for him to actually come back the way he did and be a role player, I mean, he was one of our most athletic players besides Amar. He was one of our fastest guys. Wow. He was into it. And for me, I mean, G. Hill's like the Obama of the NBA. I mean, everything's right politically. I talked to him. He's an owner now. Yeah. People don't get it. I mean, he does the broadcasting. He does college, the NBC, ABC, or whatever. But we never really got into that detail. But he gave me a funny story one time about T-Mac when they both signed with Orlando. And this is where they thought, G. Hill was going to be the man. And this is where he was hurt and T-Mac was taking over. He was scoring like 35 a game. And he went in there. He went into the locker room. He's like, T-Mac, man, what you doing, man? What you doing? He's like, man, just getting ready for the game. And they're like, man, I wonder what the other team's thinking right now. Some other player asked T-Mac, he's like, how they gonna stop this kid tonight? That's how he was. Like, he was so confident. T-Mac, like, how they gonna stop this kid tonight? Like, overall, like, G. Hill said his confidence was so big. He was like, you could tell he was getting ready to be a star.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that if those two had been able to play together,
oh man,
people thought it'd be another Jordan Pippen or close. All right, so you say Shaq's the funniest teammate you ever had. Who's the funniest guy in the league?
Funniest guy in the league. I would say, I don't know how he is when it comes to in person, but on Twitter and that is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid right now, I mean, for one, people on Twitter are so politically correct. He has fun with it.
Yeah.
The Trump tweets, the Rihanna, telling Braun to come play with him. I hope he stays healthy. I think it's good for the game. I think guys like Draymond Green are good for the game. We're so boxed in where you don't want to say the wrong, right thing. Overall, I mean, I can only imagine if back in the day they had Twitter with Barkley and these guys. I mean, like, it would be crazy. And I think we get so, like, when it comes to the endorsements where we can be even more authentic and just be who we are.
So who's the most popular guy in the league? Among players, who's like the most popular guy in the league?
I would say Braun. The reason why, because Braun overall, he plays an unselfish basketball where you can still get paid with him. I mean, if you look at Cleveland, I mean, if Cleveland went to chip, they're gonna pay Korver and have him come back. Like, they'll go over the cap. They know he runs the show. Yeah. He likes to have fun. It's not where, the Kobe mentality where, hey, I'm going to stay away from my teammates. I'm not going to do anything. Braun will go out with you. He'll hang out with you. He's a good guy. I mean, shoot, after they won a chip, they took a private jet to Vegas. I mean, not too many teams are doing that overall. So I think Braun overall. But there's other players coming up. Harden, the way he's played this year, players going to want to play with him. John Wall. Players want to play with unselfish players. So that's where the question is I want to see what guys go with Westbrook, how they get better. Because overall, his brand of basketball – are role players wanting to go there to get paid, to be able to move on, and that's where it's tough. Even though he averages 10 assists, 90% of those assists are to drop off to the bigs when he's in the air trying to shoot the ball half the time. So I'm interested to see that just because he's such a dynamic player.
You don't see players really wanting to go there.
Yeah,
I mean,
to me, for one, it's Oklahoma that hurts them. For two, it's a role as a role player. I mean, you need a system. Do they have a system? Their system to me is give the ball to Westbrook either way, either pick and roll or that, so you don't get to touch the ball. So even when you do touch the ball, it's hard to shoot if you don't have it, if you haven't been, feeling the ball throughout the game. I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's going to be more through trades where they're going to have to. They've done a good job drafting. Yeah. But overall, like when I hear the news, like Blake's going to go to Oklahoma. Blake's not going to Oklahoma. I don't know why he's not taking less money, leaving L.A. to go back there. I know people, he's from there. When I was in L.A., I think he went back home once a year.
Lonzo Ball. Is he going to have an extra target on it? Is all this putting a target on his back, or is it just they're going to go at him anyway? So
it's an extra target for sure, just because of his dad, obviously. Not the shoe. The shoes, overall, we laugh about it. Overall, I wish him the best of it. I think for someone like that, to think outside the box, if it hurts him, I don't want him losing millions. People say, you know what, it's his. But overall, I mean, I think Nike's offering $2 or $3 million per year. I mean, overall, it's still $15 million. And we don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, if you talk to a guy like Sebastian Telfair, he got 18 from Adidas. You don't know if you're going to get hurt, knock on wood. Overall, you need that. And he has brothers and his family you want to take care of. But, point guards are going to go after him. Guys like John Wall. I mean, what they said about Steph Curry. You don't think Steph Curry's going to have that circled? Man. But you know what? The funny thing about it is I believe he's going to live up to the hype. I love how he plays. He's the guy where we're talking about system. He loves to give the ball up. He's athletic. He doesn't mind the hockey assist where a lot of point guards want to hold the balls at the end. He's not that way. So I could easily see him 1 or 2 depending on the slot of this lottery coming up.
All right. Well, look, man, you have been fantastic.
Appreciate
brother.
it.
And honestly, like, you gave us a taste of the broadcast,
Yes.
the analysis.
I give you everything.
You gave us some strategy for the coaches.
Yep.
You broke down the front office with the like the 3 things
Yes.
you mentioned that you like to do, man. You showed skill in all of them. So great job, man. For
I
real.
appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me.
We're gonna have you back here too.
I'm going to have to tweet you guys out, man. Get this thing
Definitely
going.
Tweet
Yes.
this out, brother.
Yes.
Tweet this out for real. All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.